In this video, I'll be showing you how to travel in 2024 and beyond using your credit card points and miles the right way. So I remember back when I was trying to make my very first points redemption, I was so excited because I had just gotten approved for this credit card and I wanted to take my family on a trip to Universal Studios in Florida. But when the time came to actually book my trip using my points, I realized there was one big problem. Trying to find the flights that I wanted on the dates that I needed showed a terrible redemption rate, nothing close to what I had heard I could get, and I ended up not being able to pay for my trip using my points like I wanted to. And that whole experience made me realize I needed to take a step back, do some research, and develop a process to use my credit card points and miles as effectively as possible. So I came up with sort of a 4-step blueprint for myself that would set me up for success and allow me to travel more using my points and miles the right way. This 4-step blueprint is what I use every time I travel now, and it's taken my family to places like the UK, Ireland, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and more. So today I'll show you that blueprint so you can travel the world for next to nothing. And it all starts with step 1, which is to select a card with transferable points. This step is simple, but super important because you can't just get any credit card out there and start traveling using the points. Most credit cards do not earn transferable points, which is what we'll need in order to travel the right way. So you need to choose credit cards that are from banks that have hotel and airline travel partners, because those are the ones that will get you greater travel value. And that means you're going to want to focus on cards from banks like Chase, Capital One, Citi, and American Express. And if I was just starting out, I would definitely start with Chase because they tend to be more strict with their approval rules. Then move to Capital One, then Citi, then American Express, since they tend to be less strict with people who are holding multiple credit cards. Only certain cards allow you to transfer your points to travel partners, and I like to call these maximizer cards. These cards are critical to pick up if you want to travel using points and miles the right way. However, many other cards from these banks will be helpful as well when paired together with maximizer cards. For example, the Chase Freedom Unlimited only allows you to redeem points for cashback at a rate of 1 cent per point, which is typically the standard rate for points. But if you pair the Freedom Unlimited with one of Chase's maximizer cards, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you're allowed to redeem points from both cards together towards travel for greater value. Now, the key benefit to this step is that each bank has a different selection of hotel and airline travel partners, and these partnerships are very valuable. In general, Chase Bank and American Express have the most valuable travel partners that you're allowed to transfer your points to, and that means the points you earn with these banks will regularly be worth double their normal value. Or in other words, they'll be worth 2 cents per point instead of the usual 1 cent per point most people get redeeming points for cashback. Capital One and Citi have good but slightly more limited selections of travel partners, and they tend to get you around 1.8 cents per point. Moving on to step 2 of our process, it's a bit of an obvious one, but this is where you'll need to be the most strategic, because step 2 is to earn points, and there are really 2 major parts to this. The first part is to create card combinations that work together. This means opening multiple credit cards over time to create powerful combinations of credit cards like the Chase Trifecta. The Chase Trifecta is a great example of a card combination because its cards work together very well. In the Chase Trifecta, you have the Chase Freedom Flex, which is your high 5% earning card on rotating quarterly categories like Walmart, Amazon, PayPal, and others, plus you earn a solid 3% back on dining and drugstores. You also have the Chase Freedom Unlimited, which is a great catch-all card for those categories that you only earn 1% back on, because the Chase Freedom Unlimited earns an unlimited 1.5% back on everything. And you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is your dedicated travel card that earns 2x on all travel spending. Plus, because it's a maximizer card, it grants you access to Chase's hotel and airline transfer partners, making the points you earn from all of these cards much more valuable. There are other popular combinations of credit cards like the Capital One Duo and the Citi and Amex Trifecta, but you should focus on the Chase Trifecta first. Part 2 to this step is optimizing your everyday spend to earn the most points possible. Make sure you're using the correct card for each spending category so that you're earning the most points you can. And always be sure to pay off your cards on time and in full so that you're avoiding paying any interest or fees. But one of the most undervalued aspects of opening these cards that you should focus on, which is one of the key strategies to traveling more, is earning the welcome bonuses on these cards. If you earn the welcome bonuses from all 3 Chase Trifecta cards, you'll have about 100,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points. Valuing those bonuses at 2 cents per point, that's around $2,000 in travel. And other cards like the no annual fee Chase Inc. business cards could add to that, with their 75,000 point welcome bonuses, adding another $1,500 in travel value. So hopefully those serve as some good examples for you, but once you've carefully selected the right credit cards and you've started earning points through everyday spending, it's time to actually use those points on travel. Now, this can definitely be one of the most exciting parts of this whole process, but it can also be quite complicated and time consuming as well. So for step 3 of this whole process, we're going to focus on simple but high value travel redemptions. And this will make your life easy, especially if you're just starting out. But later on, once you master these redemptions, the next step I'll show you will give you the highest potential value for your points. So one of the most complicated aspects of using points and miles for travel is finding award availability. What many people don't tell you about using points and miles is that for many hotels and airlines, you can only use your points on certain days, or you need to book them out 1 year in advance just to find award availability before it gets taken. But thankfully, there are some specific redemptions that are not complicated, plus some tools that I'll show you that make finding award availability very easy. My first and favorite redemption is to book Hyatt hotel stays by transferring Chase Ultimate Rewards over to the world of Hyatt. This is pretty amazing because Hyatt probably has the most valuable hotel loyalty program in the world because their points are just so valuable at around 2 cents per point. You can transfer Chase points over to Hyatt and all other hotel and airline travel partners at a rate of 1-to-1, and I'll show you exactly how to do that later on in this video. At many basic Hyatt properties, you'll get a value of around 1.5 to 2 cents per point. It's very easy to see how many points per night it costs, and availability is typically not a big issue. For example, I spent about 20,000 points per night to stay at the Hyatt-centric Liberties in Dublin, Ireland, and it would have cost around $350 per night in cash, giving me a nice value of 1.75 cents per point. However, there are many other higher-end Hyatt properties that have given me a great value of 3 to 7 cents per point. However, the trade-off is that it typically takes more time to find award availability. And that's because Hyatt makes you search day by day in order to find award availability, and more on how to work around that later on in this video. Our next simple but valuable points redemption is to transfer points to United and Southwest to book domestic flights. Finding award availability on Southwest is so easy, especially compared to all the other airlines. But I will admit the value is a little bit lower than I would like to hit, typically getting around 1.4 to 1.7 cents per point. However, this is a pretty decent value for booking domestic economy flights. So I don't typically transfer my points to Southwest, but I do earn them with the dedicated Southwest credit cards, which I would highly recommend, by the way. But you could transfer your Chase points to Southwest at 1-to-1, getting you a pretty decent value for domestic economy flights. And it can make your life pretty easy since award seats are always available on Southwest flights as long as there's an open seat available. United flights will hover around the same value as Southwest. However, there's a little bit more upside since you can also redeem your points for business and first class flights. And those can often get you much greater value. But the downside is that it can be more tedious to do this through United's website since you can only view a small date range of availability at a time. There is a tool that makes finding award availability on United and other airlines' websites very easy, and I'll show you that in the next step when we look at some business and first class redemptions. One last simple redemption strategy you might want to use as a backup is using the bank's travel portal, which is often something very similar to using Expedia. Booking through the Chase travel portal using a card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred can get you 1.25 cents per point in value, or 25% more value with your points. This option is nice because it can give you such a wide variety of options available, and you're not just limited to the travel partners that the bank has, and sometimes this can even get you more value than what transferring your points will. Now, before we move on to looking at some of the higher redemption options available, I want to show you step by step how to actually transfer your points. I'll use Chase as an example, and I'll show you how to transfer Chase points over to the world of Hyatt, but the process is very similar for transferring your points over to any other hotel and airline transfer partner. You can skip ahead if you already know this process, but for those of you who are new, you might want to save this video later on when you're making your first points redemption. So first you'll want to go to chaseultimaterewards.com and log in. Then you'll select your travel card, and in this case we have the Sapphire Preferred. Then under travel you'll hit transfer points to partners, scroll down and select Hyatt, then hit transfer points. You'll then enter your Hyatt membership number. You'll enter the amount of points you would like to transfer from your Sapphire card over to the world of Hyatt. You'll then confirm your details and hit submit, and after that it only takes about 30 seconds for the points to arrive in your world of Hyatt account, which by the way isn't always the case with other transfer partners. It can take a little bit longer for those points to transfer. But overall, this whole process only takes about 1 minute and it's extremely easy. but just make sure you only transfer your points when you're ready to book a trip and you have found the award availability. Because once they're transferred out, they cannot be transferred back to Chase points. So moving on to the fourth and final step of our process. We've learned how to carefully select the right credit card, earn points strategically, and we've mastered how to transfer your points to travel partners. And now we have step 4, which is how to redeem your points for maximum value. This step is where people get so much more value for their points, where you can redeem for 5, 10, sometimes even 20 cents per point. And there's really 2 main strategies to do this. First is to redeem your points at high-end hotel properties. Many high-end properties from hotel brands like Marriott, IHG, Hyatt, and Hilton can get you much greater than 2 cents per point when transferring your points. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of higher-end Hyatt properties that have personally gotten me 3 to 7 cents per point in value. For example, I went to the Grand Hyatt Kauai, which is a beautiful property in Hawaii, right on the beach of the beautiful island of Kauai. The landscape looked like a scene straight out of Jurassic Park, and there was plenty to do and good food to eat around the property. It cost me around 24,000 points per night for a room that normally would have cost almost $900 a night, giving me a great value of around 3.7 cents per point. I also stayed at a high-end luxury resort in California called the Alila Ventana Big Sur. It's an all-inclusive resort right on the beautiful Big Sur coast of California, and you can hike or relax in the hot tub next to the big redwood forest. My stay there cost quite a bit of points at around 45,000 points per night, but it got me a really great value of around 7.6 cents per point in value. The trade-off with these higher end hotel redemptions is that it usually takes more work to find availability since they're so popular. And because Hyatt, for example, makes you search day by day in order to find availability. Thankfully, there's a really easy workaround with a free tool that I like that allows you to pick any Hyatt, Marriott, IHG, or Hilton property. It shows you all the available dates for that specific property, how many points it costs per night, the minimum cash rate you would need to pay, and the cent per point redemption. It makes it so easy to find nights at some higher end Hyatt properties that can get you a whopping 5 cents per point or more in value. You can even set it up to send you alerts if specific nights you want that are taken become available. The tool is called MaxMyPoint. It's free and an easy workaround to finding availability at higher end properties, and I'll include a link down in the description if you want to check it out. Strategy number 2 for redeeming points for maximum value is redeeming points for international, business, and first class flights. In my experience, 3 to 5 cents per point is not unreasonable at all, but I've seen people get massive redemptions of 10 to 20 cents per point. This is because business and first class flights can easily cost between $5,000 to $10,000, even upwards of $20,000, yet you can often redeem them for around 60 to 120,000 points, obviously depending on the flight. For example, I booked business class flights to Europe this year by transferring points to the Air France KLM Flying Blue Award program. The business class flights would have cost over $13,000 in total for my family, but I paid just an average of 68,000 points per person. I did have to pay a few $100s in taxes and fees for these flights, so it's not like they were completely free. And this is something you'll need to watch out for when booking business and first class flights. But it's still a much better experience, cheaper than booking economy tickets with cash, and it's a great use of my points. Some other sweet spots you can find for international business and first class flights are Iberia business class flights to Spain with off-peak one-way pricing as low as 34,000 points. Singapore Suites first class flights from JFK to Frankfurt that would normally cost at least $11,000 for as little as 97,000 points. And Emirates first class flights for as little as 135,000 points. Booking business and first class flights can be complicated because there's just so many different partnerships between airlines and airline alliances, and it can make finding award availability very difficult. But one of my favorite tools to work around that is a tool that shows you a 12-month calendar of award availability from a pretty large selection of different airlines. You select the airline and the airports you want to fly to and from, and it breaks down which days have award availability, how many seats are available, and the taxes and fees. And with some of the paid versions, you can even look at business and first class flights. This tool is called SeatSpy. It's something I personally used and really liked when I was booking my business class flights, and I highly recommend it. And I'll include a link down in the description if you're interested in learning more, as well as links to many of the cards that I mentioned in this video. By the way, those links help support this channel and make it possible for me to spend time to create this content. So thank you so much to all of you who do use my links. And by the way, if you're interested in learning more about different travel credit cards, I made a video on the best travel credit cards for 2024, and you should definitely check that out. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.